Cars. We like them. We like driving them. But you know what we don't like doing with cars? Working on them when they break. Okay, we don't like that. So today I'm going to keep you guys clear of the top 10 most unreliable cars, according to Consumer Reports, so probably wrong, in the world. All these cars, based on the website that I used, are rated 1 out of 10 in terms of reliability. Very bad. Now, obviously, I do want to make this very clear. This is not of all time. This is cars like right now. So most of these cars are modern cars. If I went back to like all time, it would be pretty hard to find the top 10 most unreliable cars, because there's been a lot of unreliable cars in our lives. So these are the top 10 most unreliable cars according to Consumer Reports in 2023. Without further ado, let's go right into the list with number 10. Coming in at number 10 is going to the Ford Explorer. Explorer, the only thing you're going to be exploring is the bank when you have to go get a loan because it keeps breaking on you. I don't know where I was going with that joke, but it was horrible. It says it has $9,000 in repair costs within the first 10 years. It has 3 recalls, but they're all kind of minor recalls. However, it does have the typical Ford issue where their suspension and their steering just absolutely sucks. We're going to hear that a lot. There's a couple of Fords on this list, of course, and most of them are all like, oh my god, the steering and suspension is horrible. Just don't even try turning. Just instead of turning, just pick the car up and move it to the left if you need to. Their steering and suspension systems are pretty bad, but the Explorer, which is surprising to me because these are very well-selling cars, is apparently incredibly unreliable for that one reason. It does have 3 recalls, which is significantly more than the others, but all the recalls are very minor, so it really doesn't matter. Hey. Coming in at the number 9 spot, bada boom, bada bing, is the Nissan Sentra. This one hurts because I love Nissan, okay? Nissan's like one of my favorite car brands. I have a Nissan 350Z. I freaking love it. But the Nissan Sentra apparently sucks. It has $5.4K in repair costs within the first 10 years, which it doesn't sound like a lot compared to the Ford Explorer, because it's not a lot compared to the Ford Explorer. But you got to keep in mind that you're spending a lot less when buying a Sentra over an Explorer, because a Sentra is a car where an Explorer is an SUV. So those repair costs, even though they're less, chances are the person buying the Sentra is also trying to pay less, so it's going to impact them just as much. It has a whole lot of transmission issues because, duh, it's a new Nissan. Just let's get this straight, all right? I'm a Nissan fan. You're probably a Nissan fan if you're watching this channel, but let's be honest with ourselves. Our transmissions in the past couple of years have just been dookie. You might as well stick your hand in between the gears yourself and just manually shift. Now, I'm not talking like a manual transmission. No, I'm talking manually stick your hand down there and change the gears with your fingers, because they're just horrible. But it does suck that the Nissan Sentra is so unreliable, because I do kind of like them. Coming in at the number 8 spot, I think this website was trying to be nice to Ford and try and like hide it, but it's the Lincoln Navigator. Listen, website, I forget what it was called, but website, I know that Lincoln is secretly Ford in disguise, just with a suit on, all right, buddy? I know that. You can't hide it from me. The Lincoln Navigator is just as unreliable as the Ford Explorer, because, duh, they're pretty much exactly the same car. It has $11.5K in repair costs, which is even more than the Explorer, and it has 4 freaking recalls. I don't know how this isn't higher on their list, because, trust me, I'm just following their list, okay? This is what they said is number 8. But this thing sucks. Dude, the recalls are not that minor either. They're pretty big recalls. It costs a lot to repair it. It costs a lot to buy the car in first place. Yeah, it's an SUV, so you got a lot of space in there, and you can fit all the kids in there, and you can fit all your freaking piping in there in case you need to go to a house and do some piping. But it is not a good car. Coming in at the number 7 spot, I actually knew that this thing was unreliable before I freaking made this list, because I'm not kidding. My friend, it's the Hyundai Kona electric, by the way. Get used to electric and hybrid cars, because a lot of them are still unreliable as hell. But my friend, he crashed his BMW. He had a 3 Series, he had an F30 BMW, he crashed it. When he crashed that, he needed to rent a car. He rented one of these, and it broke on him. It was a rental, and it broke on him. These things suck. I already knew this before going into it. It has $7.8K in repair costs for the first 10 years, which isn't that bad, but it has massive suspension and steering issues, but somehow it actually has no recalls, which is really good. I mean, we like to see no recalls. Suspension and steering issues are definitely an issue. That's actually exactly what happened with my friends. I didn't know what it was because he just took it to the shop. He's not a car guy. He didn't try fixing it himself, but he was like, oh, it's having suspension issues, and brought it into the shop. But yeah, 7.8K in repair costs, not that bad. But since it's an electric car, that electric motor is scary too. It's just a lot of scary stuff leads into the Hyundai Kona being this high. You know what's pretty reliable? the Ford F-150. A lot of people buy them. They're one of the most bought vehicles in the world. Actually, they are the most bought truck in the world, which is really good. But you know what's unreliable? When you take a Ford F-150 and you decide, you know what, let's add more complexity to it. Let's add a hybrid motor. And that's exactly what you get with the Ford F-150 hybrid. An incredibly unreliable car that's at number 6. $10.2 thousand in repair costs within the first 10 years. I mean, okay, buddy. 10 years spending 10K, that's $1,000 a year to repair this. I don't know, man. It has massive engine issues. Obviously, stay away from just hybrids and electrics in general until they all get it figured out. I'm not going to type of person to sit here and hate on electrics 24/7. I do hate electrics, but I'm not going to sit there and make it my life. But yeah, I recommend waiting. You know, if these people they just kind of started building electric cars. Every company is building them. Wait until they got it figured out before you start buying them, because this is what happens. The F-150 hybrid sucks when normally the F-150 is a good truck to buy. Coming in at number 5, welcome back to the land of Korea, the Hyundai Elantra. Honestly, this one surprised me because the Hyundai Elantra, I always saw it was just like the Korean version of the Camry, like an incredibly reliable mid-sized sedan that can get great gas mileage. But apparently not. This thing is pretty expensive to own. It has 5.8K repair costs within the first 10 years. As far as I can tell, they do have a couple like big issues with them, but most of them are just in like car electronic issues, like airbag covers, climate controls, and other little things, which doesn't sound like a big deal at first, and it really isn't if it just stays to those things. But the problem is it never does stay to those things. Electrical issues, they spread like a freaking disease, dude. It's like the C word. I can't say the C word on YouTube because they'd like to take away my money if I mention it for some reason, but the blank 19, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's like that. It spreads like wildfire, and eventually you have electrical issues all over the place. You hop in the car and you get electrocuted. It's like you got struck by lightning. It's just not a good time. Coming in at the number 4 spot is the Nissan Pathfinder. Welcome back, Nissan. You're still unreliable as hell, so that's nice. Pathfinder, maybe if the path is to the shop, that's the only path it's finding. It has 7.8K repair costs within the first 10 years. That's pretty dookie, but not that bad compared to some other big SUVs that we've seen already on this list. Once again, big transmission issues. Duh, Nissan. Hello. Also, apparently the welds on the seats are done poorly. So good luck in a head-on collision, because if you crash in a head-on collision and those welds come flying off, it doesn't matter if you're buckled in. You're flying where the whole seat is flying out. It's like an ejected seat. You're like flying like a jet, and you're getting ejected. I do like the Pathfinder, and compared to like the Explorer and the Navigator that we talked about earlier, I really don't know why they put this one so much higher at number 4 than the other ones. It seems like it's just a better version of those. But yeah, I would definitely stay away from any Pathfinder, Explorer, or anything if you're getting an SUV. Get on like a friggin' SUV. What's a good SUV? Like a Chrysler Town and Country or something. I don't know. Coming in at 3rd place, oh my god, you thought we were done with family SUVs that are incredibly unreliable and are dangerous to society. We're not. It's the Kia Sorento. I just want to point out real quick, notice how none of these cars are sports cars? Everybody always says, oh, sports cars are an issue. Sports cars are bad. Sports cars are dangerous. But all these cars are freaking commuter cars that suck. Anyway, the Kia Sorento costs around $8,000 in the first 10 years to repair it. And it has lots of problems with the brakes and the ECU. Also, apparently, the trailer hitch harness catches on fire in an accident. I mean, I guess it makes sense. The harness is probably going to be right near the fuel tank. So if the fuel tank catches on fire, then the harness is right there and it's probably flammable, so it catches on fire. But it's a little weird. Brake problems are obviously quite, a lot of people think like that's a big deal. It really usually isn't. You can usually tell when the brakes are having issues before they blow up, like people say. But the ECU, I don't know about you guys. I hate wiring, and when ECUs go, I just would rather just sell the car, to be honest. I'd just rather just get rid of the whole thing. Coming in at 2nd place, the second most unreliable car in 2023, according to this website, is the Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid. I don't know if I mentioned Pacifica right, because I've never said that word in my life. I've never talked about these cars, and I don't really plan on doing it that much after this. It cost $10.6 thousand in the first 10 years. Once again, pretty bad. It's a minivan, and you're dropping 10.6K on it when you should be worrying about your son's soccer cleats or something, because 10.6K, that's a lot of money, buddy. It has electrical shortage that causes the entire engine to break down. Electrical problems seem to be the issue with a lot of these electric cars, because most of their wiring is done like with a ridiculous, it has a lot of wires, is what I'm trying to say. It needs a lot of wires. If it's all electric, then it's going to need a lot of wires. Hybrid motors has caused for pretty much 2 motors to now have problems instead of 1 motor. It's a hybrid. Wait until they get better technology with hybrids. But first place, the most unreliable car in 2023 according to this website. And honestly, after looking at all of them side by side, I can totally agree with them that this thing seems like an actual death trap. I don't understand why anybody would buy one of these ever. It's the Chevy Bolt EUV. That's right, it's in another electric vehicle. Surprise, surprise. It is a GM vehicle, which is the only GM vehicle on this list, but it's the worst car on the list, so take that how you want to. It has a price of $9.2K every 10 years. Keep in mind, yes, we've had some that are higher than that, but those have been massive SUVs or minivans. This is a Chevy Bolt. It's a car, and it costs $9.2K to repair every 10 years. That's crazy. It has seat belt pre-tension or can cause a fire. That's fun. Seat belts, it's not like they're near you or anything, so if they catch on fire, that's fine. You should be all right. On top of that, the electric motor just blows up. So that's one of the motors. It has 2 motors in it, and one of them blows up. That's nice. It looks like a death trap. I really don't buy one of these. Again, I've said this before in the beginning of the video. I'm going to say it again now, though, because it's the end of the video, and we're talking about another electric car. Do not buy anything electric right now. Wait until people get it figured out. Wait until they understand how to build a nice, reliable electric car. And then if you want to sell your manhood, go ahead and buy one. But right now, don't do it. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the top 10 most underrated cars in 2023 according to whatever website it was that I looked it up on. I want to make this very clear, I personally don't agree with some of these. I think there are much other unreliable cars out there. The way that their list works is definitely very weird, but yeah, these cars do seem like they suck. After looking at them, spending $10K in 10 years on the car is ridiculous. I've owned my Integra for a year. You want to know how much I've spent on basic maintenance for that car? $80 on an oil change, and I could have done that myself and only spent like $20. I just didn't want to. That's it. That's the only basic maintenance I've had to do on that car. Everything else that I've done to it has been because I wanted to do it and I wanted to make it look cooler. So, yeah. I mean, a 2000s car that I bought for $3 grand. It's been a year and it hasn't cost me $1 in maintenance. And it has 140,000 miles. You can buy one of these cars brand new and within 10 years you're spending $10K on it. That's crazy. Don't do it. Just buy used, boys. Buy used. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania and have a nice night.